Hi, everyone. My name is Monique, and I want to come on here and share a video around why I'm here and what I'm going to be using this platform for. So, I do have some videos on here that are related to Kundalini and the breath practices that I teach to help people calm their nervous system and reconnect with their body. So feel free to check those out as well. But this video, I specifically wanted to kind of introduce myself a little bit, give you like a small snippet of my story and the why I finally am stepping out of my shell and coming on here. I've been called for many years now to use my voice to help others awaken, basically, to help them realize that there's another way of moving through this life that they might not be aware of. And also to help some of you who connect with my stories realize that you're not alone. So I'll start with, I grew up in New York. I was living in New York with my mother and her husband, my stepfather, from the ages of like 9 to 18. But this man actually had been in my life since I was like, I don't know, 2, apparently. That's a whole other story. And this person was really fucking nasty with me, caused a lot of problems between my mother and I. He said really shitty things to me about myself repeatedly. So from the ages of 9 to 18, pretty much on an everyday basis, I was told that I was stupid, that I was a bad person, and that I was crazy. So that little glimpse into what a super dysfunctional, narcissistic type of family system could look like. I was the person and still am that person that I see reality and I know what my experiences are because they're mine and they're valid. And what I grew up with was that my experiences were not real. My feelings were also not real. And I was basically not allowed to have them. So if I told my mother that I was upset about something, she said, "No, you're not." Does that sound familiar? Right? Some of you maybe could relate to that. And this was really confusing, right? Especially when I was like younger. Once I was a teenager, I was just like, this is bullshit and these people are crazy. But by then, I was in that like space of there's something wrong here. I've known there was something wrong here. But if there was something wrong, like another adult would have like stepped in by now, was kind of like my thought pattern at the time. And it was really confusing and very hard. And my stepdad would like start to pick fights with me when my mom was like not around, but she could kind of like hear us. And he would just like say some random shit. Like I would walk into the kitchen and he'd be like, "You look like a slut." And I'm like, "What the fuck? Great, thanks." And then he'd continue until I reacted and started screaming and calling him a fucking asshole. And that's when my mom would walk in and he'd be like, "See, this is how she talks to me." Right? No, what happened? Right? And even when those situations arose where I was like, "Don't you care what happened?" She's like, "Well, what happened?" And he's like, "I don't know. She just came in here and started yelling at me." Right? So it was always his word against mine. And it was always I was lying and I'm crazy and all this stuff. So I slowly started to shut down, started to stop saying, "This is how I feel about things. This doesn't feel good," or saying, "Wait, this is what happened. Why are you saying this happened?" I stopped that. It was a little more tolerable to exist in this house by doing that. But when I was doing that, I was really shutting down myself and giving my power away. And I didn't know that at the time, right? So I actually ended up going to a guidance counselor when I think I was like a junior in high school. And like I was not doing good in school at the time. And some of my teachers were worried about me and all the things, right? So I like went to this guidance counselor and was like, "Hey, like I don't know what to do. Like I feel crazy. Like this is what's going on." And she was kind of like, "Yeah, okay. Like I know you. I know the crowd you run with. I know you smoke weed and cigarettes." And she just had this view of me that was so tainted already. And then she called my parents and they reinforced her already like assumption about me because of my outer appearance. And that was just another like, okay, I need to keep my mouth shut because apparently there is nothing wrong with what's going on. And I'm this bad person. So I just need to like suck it up and get the fuck out of here when I'm 18, which is what I did. And I left. I began to drink heavily and do all sorts of drugs, stayed away from any heroin and needles because I knew better. Um, I definitely would have died. So I just numbed myself for another, what, like decade or whatever. And then I chose to stop drinking first at age 30, which was now 12 years ago, which is so crazy to think about. And then I quit all other substances, probably officially like 2 years after that. And what ended up starting to happen on this journey of releasing something that was no longer serving me, I started to unravel all the stuff I was like had held on to and kind of pushed down and um, stopped trying to understand because I kept getting met with like, right, I tried to reach out, didn't work out, was worse. And I was just kind of like, cool, I'm done with that. That's not working. So now I'm sober. Now I'm still angry and still think I'm a bad person and have really low self-worth. I have a really hard time like using my voice. And I ended up in this yoga teacher training, which I was so grateful for. That changed my entire life. In this training, we were sitting in circle, and one of the questions was like, um, oh yeah, what happened to you, or what was said to you that made you think that you're not able to do whatever it is you want to do, basically, like not have um, that like courage in a sense, or that drive to try these things. And I kept being like, I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And then I started listening to everyone and I started hearing their stories and I was like, oh shit. And then all of a sudden, all the words, all those shitty things that my stepfather said came pouring in. I started crying. It was like super intense, but it was like really good. And from that moment on, I was like, oh my God, I have a choice. I could shift this. Like, I was like, I'm not crazy. It was like mind blowing, right? I was like, holy shit, I knew I was a good person. Oh my God, right? So, like, that started. And the reason I'm sharing that is because I lived a really large part of my life believing the words that some asshole told me repeatedly. So when something like that happens to us, when we are verbally abused repeatedly, we start to believe whatever the abuser says. Okay. And I want you to know that you could change that. And it's fucking awesome. So my fuel at that time, about 10 years ago, when I started that training, was I'm going to prove this person wrong. And in that, I got to know myself. I got to heal stuff. And I got to stay sober. So I just want everyone to know who's watching this, who may come from a verbally abusive family or situation, that it's not fucking normal. And you don't need to stay in it. And you don't need to let those words be your truth anymore. Right? There's another way. We could rewire our brain. We could learn new ways. It just takes some effort. It takes awareness and the ability to want to change. So that's one reason I'm here. That's one why. The second why is the substance abuse. So I had tried quitting drinking 2 times before the last time. And the difference in the last time was I not only removed the substance, I started to shift the way I was thinking about the substance and reality in general. And that's the key here. I became aware of what was going on in my body. I became aware of what happened to me. And I took the steps to release it. There's so many different like ways, avenues to do this. And I'm just going to share what has worked for me because that's what's worked for me. And I'm not saying my way is the only way. It's a way. So there's options out there. And the first thing I want to encourage like anyone to do that's watching this, that resonates with this, especially if you are currently using any white powder drugs. As you know, a lot of these drugs are now cut with fentanyl and people are dying. So instead of just being like, oh, I'm just doing some blow, how about, oh, I'm taking a loaded gun and I'm pointing it at my head and there might be a bullet in there. Okay. That's how severe you need to be about this. And like, you may be like, oh, this girl's like totally being dramatic. No, I'm saying what no one else is fucking saying because that's reality. Okay. You could test your drugs all you want. You could carry Narcan. But what happens at one time you don't have those things? And you're like, oh, it's okay. Right? And then you don't wake up ever again. We keep losing people. And I'm starting to get really fucking annoyed, honestly. Because there's another way. And we need all these people. We need these people. I feel like the people that turn to substance abuse are the ones that have the most amazing gifts that this world needs to shift, to change. We all have some amazing powers and gifts to share with this world. So I'm sharing mine. And that's to sit here and be real, to have the hard conversations about topics that no one wants to talk about, or maybe they are talking about, they're just not hitting the right target audience. Like, I don't know. All I know is that when we share our voices, then we could help heal, and we begin to heal. So I am sharing. I'm going to share a lot. And some of the stuff I'm going to share will be triggering. And some of it will be funny. Some of it you'll relate to. Some of it you won't. Some of it you'll be like, what is she talking about? And that's fine, right? Take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Like, I'm not saying like everything that comes out of my mouth is like the all and one and only truth out there. It's just a way. And it's a different way than what you might be doing right now. Like, I didn't realize that I had a choice. And once I realized I had a choice, I was the one in control. I decided to take that leap because I knew where the other road led to. Led to more shitty nights. It led to more hating myself. It led to me listening to my stepfather over and over again. And it ultimately led to him being right. And he's not. And neither is any other parent who devalidates your experience, who tells you that you're a bad person. So I just want to know, or let you know, that you're not alone. And I'll be here to shed some light on different topics, situations. I will share parts of my story more in depth. And I also want to hear from you, like, what are you struggling with? Or maybe there's something I say that you're like, oh, like, made you question something, or brought up some sort of curiosity, or reminded you of an experience you had that you like were, I don't know, unsure of, or whatever's coming up, right? Like, I want to help. And right now, this is the only way I know how to help, is to share story, because that is the one thing that helped me after releasing alcohol, right? And I'll go into like the other things that helped, but that was the first, right? So that being said, I'm doing some live talks on Instagram with my nephew and whoever shows up around substance abuse, around what is going on and how it's very normalized, right? And it's actually normal in those systems that it's normal. It's actually not. on the great scheme of things, it's actually a little part of the way the rest of us are functioning on this planet. And I know that's kind of hard to wrap your head around, because when I was there, I was like, everyone does this. I was like, if everyone was doing that, we'd be fucked. So anyway, that will be, I believe we've chosen Thursday nights. So please feel free to check out my website or my other platforms to kind of keep up to date with that. The best way to keep up to date with any like talks or offerings that I'm doing virtually or in person is by signing up for my newsletter. So there's a link in the bio here for my website. And when you go there, the first thing you could do is sign up for that newsletter. So I encourage you to do that if any of this resonates with you and you're just looking for another perspective. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And yeah, I'll see you next time.